Hello again. I'm out here in the park on a lovely day. It's not cool exactly, but the trees are doing their job. Kids are playing. It's 1 o'clock on a Sunday. That's the train. It carries mostly kids around the park. Those who are familiar with this park know there's a little train that goes around and it carries kids around the park, and you can see the entire park with the train. Anyway, wasn't sure of if I was going to get any students to come out today, but if I don't, I'm still going to do this. And as always, it's free for you to come and listen, ask for resources for mental health and wellness, and I cater to all kinds when it comes to such things. But this is what I choose to do with my time. Anyway, one of the things that I think happened over the last couple weeks is things got really, really strange for so many people that I noticed, including yours truly. And I had someone that have, I guess, become friendly with tell me yesterday, just like ever since that full moon happened in Capricorn, or a strawberry moon, or what they called that, ever since that happened, it's like things turned flipped upside down for so many people. And I was like, yeah, I'm beginning to notice that. It's like, not literally, but figuratively, the devil has come and farted and spread all his energy around and kind of lift the mask off of people, and or cause upset and unrest in otherwise ordinary lives. And I'm like, yeah, I can see some of that. But it depends on, I guess, we can see it from different perspectives. And follow me, sometimes I go on these little tangents. Now, there are things in my existence that has happened, and when I say existence, I mean since my born day, that have happened that I find now, when I look back on it, to be some incredible things that many people that I've encountered in my life that have not experienced. Now, when I say incredible, it doesn't necessarily mean I was having a good time during it. The opposite is true, in fact. And I look at it as a mark of extraordinariness, as opposed to seeing it as an excuse or a crutch to not perform in my best ability to be myself in alignment with myself. And because I look at it that way, I think it is easier for me to get up and do whatever I choose to do with my life, with my purpose. And so I'd encourage you to look at how fantastic you are in spite of anything that you have going on that is challenging. Now, I know sometimes that is difficult, especially when you look around at what's going on nowadays. I ain't the only one that know about. I didn't watch the debate, but I know about the debate. It's like I have completely checked out. It's like, yeah, I'm not participating in none of that. The layers of it, exactly. It's like, okay, so we have these candidates, and neither of them are ideal, and it seems like every single time it gets worse and worse as it pertains to picking the lesser of two evils. And I don't want to have to be in that position to pick the lesser of two evils for anything. And I consider myself a good citizen, at least I try to be, but I'm choosing to not to not engage that as much as I possibly can. So when the topic comes up, I'm like, okay, when y'all done talking about that, I'll be back. Not because I bow out of conversations about politics, mostly because this is not politics, this is theater, and some of it's sad. So I see no point in engaging it, right? Anyway, so I've had, just like everyone else, little hiccups here and there, but I had a moment of clarity with myself. I always try to bring it back to me. And I had to do a bit of shadow work. And I'm going to be like, look, I'm so sick of having to do shadow work. But at the same time, I'm grateful that the things that I need shadow work on, sorry if y'all hear cars and people laughing and playing, I'm in the park, and it's a public park. I'm cramped up in my office most of the week, and I see people after they get off of work, usually in the evenings, and throughout my day, I'm either reading or watching a documentary or trying to keep myself busy until I start seeing people throughout the day. Now, I do have daytime clients here and there, but most of them is in the evenings, which really messes with my sleep schedule sometimes, but it's my sleep schedule. I've chosen in some way to figure out a way to say, you know what, it's okay to have this sleep schedule for me. Now, it may not work for everybody else, and it may not be the normal sleep schedule, but it provides me the opportunity to be able to sleep a little later in the day and be fresh for my clients in the evening at night. So, okay, whatever. And when I look at the totality of everything that's going on right now, I said, you know what? I don't know why I'm so damn tough on myself, but at the same time, I know why I need to be. I need to always be vigilant about me and my self-protection. And to be perfectly frank with you, I'm going to reiterate, I do not and super love shadow work at this point, even though I still encourage you to do it. And if you're not familiar with shadow work at this particular point, you can Google it. But shadow work is simply taking a reflective look at self, turning the mirror on yourself, no matter what the situation is, right? So I'll give an example. I have a friend who I've fallen out with, and as much as I would like to just say it's all their fault, even if what someone did to me is wrong, I got to see what my participation is in it, or is there something within that dynamic that I was supposed to learn about myself, or learn about living and learn about life, right? So like I say, well, this person did this or that, the other thing to me, and I used to be in that spiral of like, I can't believe they did this, and they need to apologize to me, and they need to do. But now I'm like, okay, so they don't need to do anything. What I need to do is understand that empathy is not a lack of self-respect. Hear that again. Empathy is not a lack of self-respect. So I found part of my shadow work this week was finding the different instances within my own life where I've allowed myself to believe I was being empathetic, but really and truly I was sitting in a lack of self-respect. And that lack of self-respect caused more problems. And then those problems compounded, and I'm like, okay, I blame you for taking advantage of me, but really, where was my self-respect? And me in my mind, oh, empathy, they didn't mean that, or they're dealing with whatever they're dealing with, so that's why they behave that way. So maybe if I'm kind to them and model that behavior, then they'll be kind to me, kinder to me. Oh, that doesn't always work for everybody. Maybe the lesson is not about telling myself, and I'm telling y'all, maybe it'll help you. Maybe the lesson is not about understanding how to model kindness or empathy for someone. Maybe the lesson is about empathy only can go so far. Where's your self-respect? Do you respect yourself enough not to allow someone to cause you harm repeatedly? And do you respect yourself enough and have self-control goes along with that too? Have the self-control to be like, I'm going to walk away, even if some part of this I feel is advantageous to me. I'm still going to walk away. I'm going to walk away. Once you come to yourself, that was my shadow work. It's like sitting here and analyzing, staying in my head about anything in particular. It's not something that I choose to do or engage in anymore. And so once I came up on that issue, it's like, wait, am I doing it again? Am I being overly critical or showing so much empathy that I have a lack of self-respect? I had to sit with that and actually analyze. You know what works? Sharon, who may have this issue of self-control, self-respect versus empathy, I had to use the facts. Sit down with the facts of everything that you've endured, or everything that you in your mind put a pin in, like, that seemed kind of not right. But I dismissed it for the three things: lack of self-control, lack of self-respect, and empathy, right? So if you take all those things and put them, a little on the shelf, come back to them. Take all those things and put them on the shelf and just look at the facts and see what your part is and what their part is, and what you did participate in and what you didn't. And then you can find the answers that were confounding. I think 9 times out of 10, when you find yourself inside your head about something, it's usually something you're refusing to see clearly. You don't want that to be the result. Your intuition, your God-given consciousness has already told you the answer to the problem, but your refusal to see it is what keeps you in your head. And look, it may not be true for you, but I'm asking you to consider it. You don't have to make an enemy, and you don't have to go like full blaze, balls to the wall, just go off, but you can choose peace. 9 times out of 10, especially nowadays, I'm choosing peace. Like, no, I don't. Once I come to the conclusion that I have allowed my empathy, lack of self-control, lack of self-respect to do something that causes me any kind of upset, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me evaluate this. It takes me about, an hour maybe. Especially if something is disquieting to my spirit. Like, what about this is disquieting to my spirit? And disquieting to your spirit can simply look like you sitting down and reanalyzing something over and over again. And like, what are you reanalyzing, sis? Bruvs? There's something about this that isn't quite right. Find the answer within you. Find what you wasn't looking for, or find what you missed. Y'all are good enough to do this. Y'all are smart enough to do this. I'm assuming I'm talking to mostly grown folks. And then believe it. that part can be hard, right? Believe what your intuition tells you. But then it's not anyone else's responsibility to act at that point but yours. Listen to me. You don't have to make an enemy out of anyone, but you definitely can give yourself peace by making space. In whatever way you choose to do that, make space. Okay? Non-violence is the best answer in my. If you can find a non-violent answer, go with that first. And violence is not always physical. Sometimes violence is engaging in a verbal combat. To me, sometimes that can be violent, right? Because you can cut deep with words, right? But non-violence, hey, set the boundary, say no, back away, that kind of thing. Once you realize something isn't right for you. And I had to sit with that, with like multiple like layers of types of engagements with friendships and all over the place, right? And I realized within myself, I'm still here's a fourth thing, I'm still very trusting in a way that I shouldn't be. And so, since I know that that's a me problem, that's not a person who would choose to cause me any level of harm. Yeah, that's their choice, and they have to deal with their issue. But my issue is like, I need to be a bit more self-protective. And that means I need to sit with myself alone for a while more. I thought I was ready to be like really social. I'm like, I'm still not ready, because I'm me. I love me. I love all my layers, but I definitely need to be more protective of myself. Learning to do that. Oh yeah, I have that in spades. It's just there are times where I still allow the lack of self-control, lack of self-respect, posing as empathy, posing as understanding. Because sometimes it be coming with the Halloween costume of empathy and understanding, when it's like someone's disrespectful to you, even in jest. There's always a little bit of truth to jokes and how someone feels. Pay attention to that. And my little silly self was like, nah, they don't mean that. Absolutely did mean that. Silly girl. So now, even though I don't super enjoy at this big age continuing to do shadow work, it is always beneficial to go straight into shadow work as opposed to going to a space of darkness and staying there, right? You can go dark and brooding and moody and being angry with the world and saying, I hate people. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I don't hate people. I hate the way people treat each other sometimes. And I don't even hate it. I don't have a piece of hate in my heart. Now, that's not me like humble bragging or anything like that. There are times where I wish I could hate people. Sometimes I wish I could. And I always go back to empathy. But empathy shouldn't have you sitting over here with a lack of self-respect, though, sis and bros. Sisterin and brethrens. I can have empathy. Listen to yourself, listen to me. I can have empathy without re-engaging. All the time. All the time. And another thing I told one of my babies, and I always call my clients and my students my babies. It doesn't matter how long they've been with me. Eventually I get to a space where that's a baby. Just, even if it's just a spiritual baby, someone who's learning to be in alignment with themselves and with God and whoever they choose to perceive that to be. Because for me, excuse me, y'all, I'm fiddling because there's a bug that has seemed to have gotten in a place that I don't want it to be. So, excuse me for fiddling, because I'm like, absolutely not. Them's is my jewels. Anyway, excuse me. Anyway, he said, it just flew out during a session. I said, well, I do encourage always for you to have empathy and understanding, because empathy and understanding are two different things. You can understand why someone's behaving a certain way because you've seen it before, experienced it through yourself or others in some kind of capacity, right? So you understand it. Doesn't mean that you've experienced that, because that's where empathy would come from. I've experienced what you experienced, and I have empathy for your struggle because I've now overcome that and see on the other side what it looks like healing from that or living with that. So that will give you the space for empathy in some kind of way. You can have that, but you definitely should, also make room for self-protection, self-respect, self-control, right? So, in that framework, I said to him, I said, I'm gonna tell you, I don't like it once, and I'm gonna be very, very straightforward, but kind and soft about it. But if I don't like it twice, I ain't gonna be so nice. Because it's like the old saying, if you do it twice, that is not a mistake, that is a decision. And once the person shows you they're not capable of making a better decision, again, excuse me, I gotta make sure that bug is gone. Once the person shows you they're not capable of making a better decision, now the ball's in your court to have self-respect, which leads to that continued self-love. It's like, I ain't like what you did twice. And my first go-to was to have empathy. But I'm like, wait, no, let me sit with this for a moment. And then say how I really feel. And then be done. And that is something that I encourage across the board for anybody who ever struggles with empathy, sympathy, all these things. And also having not just empathy towards self, but listen to me, how I started this conversation is talking about how incredible the experiences I've had are. I don't share a whole bunch of what my experiences in life have been, but I'll share a few of them with you so you can understand what I mean by incredible. When I came into this world, it was entered into a family that had love but violence, a whole bunch of violence, right, on both sides. And some of that violence led to the death of my mother. Come on now, we ain't trauma thumping, we're just sharing, right? So I could say just with that one incident, this is the reason why I can't do what I choose to do in life, because I have this trauma. But I just chose not to do that. And then later on, I got diagnosed with something, a serious medical condition that was going to keep me from being a mother, which is something I wanted to do one day. And I was able to have kids, which is wonderful, but I was only able to have kids because I was told I couldn't have them, and I was not protecting myself. So I had kids. I had a child at a very young age through some miracle. Even the doctor was like, I don't know how this happened. So, it was one of those things where I had to figure out a way, and I wanted all throughout that for my life to be better. Because right Just right prior to this, I had become an emancipated teen at 15, homeless for a bit, sleeping from couch to couch, whatever relative or friend would let me sleep, putting myself through high school. And yeah, you would say those things sounds rough. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's more to that, to these stories that I'm telling you right now. Those are just a few things, right? But I could say those things are so awful, and this is why I have the reasons for not doing what it is I want to do with my life, or for not having purpose, or for not being able to do A, B, C, or D, or X, Y, and Z. I can do that. I mean, it's a choice. But I'm saying, once I did enough shadow work, come on with me. Once I did enough shadow work and looked at it from perspective of me and said, well, hun, well, sis, you did survive all of that. You did also still find a way after all of that. At one point, I was working 2 jobs and homeschooling 3 kids while going to college full time. You did that with very little support, if any, at all, emotionally or otherwise, before you even turned 30. Why are you sitting here acting like you can't do stuff? Every now and again, I get to a funk and I have to remind myself how incredible my experiences have been. Incredible. I can choose to look at it from a perspective of, okay, I've been dealt a shitty hand of cards. Or I can choose to look at it as, sis, you're incredible. And you continue to be incredible. No matter what happens, you continue to be incredible. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all have that. If you think about your worst days and how you survived them, overcame them somehow, still get up and wash your tail and go to work and do your best, you are incredible. Every day. There's not a single human being alive right now that don't see all that's going on and all that's being pushed into our face about the different dynamics that are around us, that isn't experiencing some level of emotional trauma. And every day you get up and do your best and also choose kindness. You are incredible. Every day. Anyway, I hope that helps somebody. See y'all later.